Okay, it's January 2021. This is my 2020 Attitude. It's 1 year old. I bought it secondhand. Wasn't used much before I did, so they didn't work any of the bugs out, so that's what I'm having to do. So again, this is the Attitude Eclipse 4028 DGF model, 45 feet length overall, and 28 feet of cargo. I had a problem with the refrigerator not cooling. So here's one thing that you may have to do. All right, so my freezer was working great, freezing. Refrigerator, 50, 56 degrees, never seemed to change whether I use a generator or gas and electric for 12 volts. So I took the fridge out. First thing you'll need to do is, there's a couple of trim pieces that go across the top and on the bottom. So there's ones right there. You have to pop them off. Yeah, I just got a plastic tool. They just go across the top. You got to pop them off. You know, you feel like you're going to break them, but they didn't break. And then there's 4 screws on the top and 4 screws on the bottom, and you have to slide it out. Now, sliding out a little bit harder than it sounds like. First of all, the electrical cord is definitely not long enough. So you're going to take the cargo space panels off and unplug this. The copper line that goes to the gas is outside. It's a 3/4 inch wrench. Just find it and twist it out, and you got to feed it through. The next thing is the 2 electrical wires for 12 volts weren't long enough, so they pull right out of the circuit board. So I extended them. On mine, the black wire was a positive, so of course I replaced it with a red wire because I know red's positive, and the white wire was the negative, and I put a black wire and I extended it here. So here is the dreaded 5-amp fuse that some people have problems with. My 5-amp fuse was perfect, nothing wrong with it, so that's not the reason why it was working. So I traced the power wires up here and up here to this, I guess the coil condenser where the ammonia goes through, and I have 12 volts to here. So on our coil here, you have a disc thermostat. This little guy right here, little tiny guy. $14.80, so it's like $15.95 shipped to me in Amazon, 2 days. So I got to put this back here and wire it back up. So I had power going into this thermostat, but no power coming out. So when I did a test, an ohm test, I didn't get any continuity, so it was bad. And then when you hook these two up straight when you have 12 volt going, the fans came right on. But you don't want your fans to run all the time. I guess you can run your own little switch. Maybe you want to put a switch outside where you just manually turn it on. That's not a bad idea. I'm going to give this one more shot. The more I talk about it, I almost want to talk myself out of doing it and just throwing a switch on it real fast. And then wired it up. Okay, so there is a couple wires down here also. Brown and a black one. I looked it up and they weren't plugged to anything. It's kind of weird to have a 3-amp fuse, but when I looked it up online, it said a cold weather kit, and my son said we just saw him lying right here, so we're like, all right, I mean, that's probably nothing that we have. So I need to put everything back together, put the fridge back in, and make sure the fans are working. Next, the little the compartment here, I guess you would call it the chimney. Okay, the chimney is quite big in this one. Okay, so the chimney is quite big, and so they say make sure that these coils right here are no more than an inch away from the wall. So I have to put it back in and make sure, see if I have to build a baffle system or something so it'll go through the chimney on top. I have the chimney covered up because it's open and it's kind of raining right now. So this is kind of a big compartment. It did, before the fans went out, the fridge did work just fine. It got down to 30 degrees and the freezer was at 0 degrees. So everything did seem to work great when the fans were working. And that was Halloween. No, so it's not Halloween. New Year's was the first trip that we took this out. So you have 2 choices: replace this thermostat or just get a switch. And then when you turn the refrigerator on, just make sure you turn the fridge on, and that means that these fans will always run. They don't take a lot of power, I assume. I think 0.4 amps is what this one says. So 0.4 amps times 2. So, and then the little one down the bottom, so maybe it might be 1 amp draw the whole time. And they are brushless DC fans, so they should have a pretty long lifespan. That would be up to you if you wanted to replace it with a manual switch or replace this disc thermostat. I personally am just going to replace the disc thermostat. I'd rather go on and off. When it gets cool, it'll go off. When it starts to warm up, it'll turn back on. So I'm going to replace it with the disc thermostat. If it goes bad again, at least I know how to pull the fridge out. It really isn't that hard to pull the fridge out. Now that I have the extensions, it won't be as difficult to remove it. So that's pretty much the breakdown of if your freezer is freezing and your refrigerator is not. Check for your fans. Make sure that they are blowing. And if they're not spinning and doing this job, well, trace the power wire here going into the disc thermostat and make sure that you have power coming out of there. So other than that, if you have any questions, please leave comments. Again, I'm not a professional. I just enjoy doing this. I can take it, it's under warranty. If I took this into Attitude or Giant RV, I've been told it'd be 3 to 6 months before you would get it back. And we have too much camping and fun activities planned for this season. All right, thanks a lot and good luck.